Hello, my Diet Tribe. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Diabetes with Nkiruka, where I always share life-changing tips through a lived experience lens. So today I will be talking about some common mistakes I made as an individual living with type 1 diabetes on insulin. Some of you out there who live with type 2 and manage your diabetes with insulin might have also made similar mistake. So now let's settle down, relax, and have a look at these common mistakes I made as an insulin user. So from a lived experience and common diabetes knowledge, we all know that managing type 1 diabetes actually requires careful attention to various factors, and the littlest of mistakes can lead to the development of complications. Some common errors I made include number one, insulin management mistakes. So initially, I was miscalculating my insulin doses, and this resulted in too many lows and highs. And you know what that implies, having that very awkward graph, up, down, equates to complications. And I was also overcorrecting my highs. So this I used to do quite often in my earlier diabetes journey. I just did not want to see any high figures at all. So anytime I see any high figure, I never even used to sit down and analyze the whole thing, that I still have insulin on board and I just needed the insulin to walk down the glucose after it gets to the peak. Once I just see that high figure, I'm like, no, I can't have this. And the next thing I'm correcting. And this led to like frequent hypos. And this frequent hypos has now led me to where I am just now, where I have hypo unawareness. Really crazy. And I just didn't have that knowledge back then when I was using the premix insulin, how to make all the necessary adjustments. So this really impacted badly, like in my insulin management. So initially I used to make lots of insulin management mistakes. So the second mistake is the blood sugar monitoring issues. So I used to always rely on my symptoms, and sometimes my assumptions were wrong. I don't know if this happens to some people out there, but for me, sometimes my symptoms kind of like interchange, and I end up having the hypo feelings when my blood sugars are actually hyper. And most times, because of the inconvenience of always finger pricking, I just didn't bother about checking my blood sugars first before either correcting or taking a hypo treatment. So the not checking frequently was really an issue, and the inconvenience of that finger pricking just made me rely solely on my symptoms. So just make sure, don't rely on your symptoms, always check. I know it's an inconvenience when you finger prick. So the third mistake I used to make was with my diet and carbohydrate counting. So this inaccurate carb counting initially, the whole mathematics and everything was getting me confused, and this actually made me make some mistakes. But when I got a hand on how to properly count my carbs, it helped me overcome this common mistake. So you need to have a firm grip on how to count your carbs so that you don't administer the wrong dose to match the carbs that you're eating. And then the second part under the poor diet, common mistake I used to make back then was inappropriate food grouping and portioning. So I used to eat like large meals before, and in the first 3 years of my diagnosis, my diet was really, really bad, and it was more of the beans and lots of vegetables, and this made me really, really hate. I use the word hate vegetables. So I always used to load up on carbs with very little vegetables. I ignored the Eat Well plate guide, but after understanding the diabetes and nutrition, I had to take a step back and understand that diet is the cornerstone for diabetes management. And this is where most of us make the common mistake of apportioning more to carbs than vegetables. I'm a veggie lover now. I've found ways around my mom shouldn't hear this, the bland way my mom used to make those veggies, so she doesn't need to hear this. I won't let her watch this video. I make my veggies now very, very sumptuous, delicious. So I'm a veggie lover now, and I portion my plates using the Eat Well plate guide. So no more too much meals. So I've stepped out of that. Having large portions. So large portions used to be my biggest common errors with my diabetes management. And the second one is, the fourth is lack of preparedness for emergency. So then, with the stigma and everything, trying to fight against people asking, why are you carrying this? Why are you doing this? I never used to go out with my diabetes emergency kits. That was decades ago, because I didn't want anyone asking me, why are you doing this? You can't do this here. Why do you have to do this? Those questions used to drive me crazy. And I made the mistake of letting myself back then succumb to all of this. So I was never properly prepared with my emergencies, like having my glucose or quick acting carbs for hypos. And sometimes I tend to forget my backup insulin and some diabetes supplies. And for most people, the other very common mistake is not wearing a medical ID. So this is very important, as it can help first responders provide appropriate care. So for me, I learned the hard way. So you need to have your medical ID so that first responders will provide appropriate care. So the fifth common mistake I made was with exercise adjustment. So I never used to exercise on a regular basis, and when I did, I never made any necessary adjustments with medications. I never checked if my blood sugars were in the safe range to go ahead with an exercise. And most times I always used to exercise with very high glucose levels, and this resulted in even much higher sugar levels that stayed higher over several days. So this led to like dangerously high blood sugar levels over some couple of days. And so this was like one major mistake. That's not having the best knowledge back then. So these were common mistakes I made with the exercise. And then number 6 mistake I made was the psychological and emotional aspect of managing my diabetes. So I always ignored my mental health. My major focus was on, oh, my numbers must be right, my numbers must be on the target range. So this resulted in me feeling very, very overwhelmed with my care. I was constantly stressed, and sometimes I was so angry, and all I just wanted to just was just stop. So over time, I had to make that conscious effort to not focus too much on the number. I still focus on my numbers, but I just felt that I needed to step out of just thinking of diabetes, diabetes, diabetes all the time. I needed to also think about my psychological and emotional, mental well being with the whole diabetes management. So I know so many people make this particular mistakes. So in my next video, I will be talking about all the tips I use to prevent all the aforementioned common mistakes I made. So remember, guys, you like, you share, subscribe, and follow me. And please drop comments and let's see how we can get past all these mistakes. I know some of them are still ongoing, and every day in the life of an individual living with diabetes is a learning curve. So we need to keep learning and equipping ourselves with the right knowledge. So I'll see you in the next video where I'll be sharing all the tips that I use to now live better with diabetes. Bye, guys.